podcast, everyone. I'm so glad that you guys are tuning in. Man, if you're new to this podcast, this is a podcast that's dedicated to growth. Post every Monday and Wednesday. Mondays, you hear from me. It's what we call a Monday message. And then Wednesdays, we have this really cool segment called Wednesday's Word from the Wise. This is where I get to sit down with amazing guests like Saleena and just really learn and glean from them through their experiences, their knowledge, their wisdom, all that good jazz. So today, man, we're super psyched because we're going to go a little deep today. All right. We're going to, it's that time of the month. It's February. So, everyone's going to be asking, who's your Valentine's? Who you hitting up? I had a friend, Saleena, who would once say February felt like Single Awareness Day.
Yep.
Where it was the day to realize, okay, I am single.
Okay.
But, man, we're going to bring a wide variety of guests on here, just from different walks of life. This month, you're going to hear me plug Freedom Church all month. Like I said, this month was inspired by Freedom. They do a relationship series every February. And so they have fantastic guests. So I encourage you guys, if you're here in the Woodland Park area, come check it out. It's at 6:00. It's going to be amazing. Okay. But real quick, Saleena, thank you for joining us for the podcast.
Yeah.
For the people who do not know you, just share a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you, Josue, for allowing me to be here. So my name is Saleena Bellamy, and I work at Charis. I'm a year one student advisor. So my job, we're here to take care of the students and just to set them up for success so they can finish their year and step in the calling that God has in store for them. So it's an honor.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, Saleena. Saleena, I've known her since 2014. When I first moved out here to Charis Bible College, we were actually my cousin and everyone were in the same apartment building. And so really cool stuff. Yeah. A big shout out to Saleena. I just got to do this for everyone. So when I went to the phone center, you guys know about my training days. It all started with Saleena. She ended up grabbing me as one of the prayer trainers to help and assist when I was still just a phone minister. So, Saleena, I would not be where I'm at without some of that inspiration, that guidance, and those opportunities that you've given me. So just big kudos and big thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Saleena is super awesome. And the awesome story behind that we're really going to unpack and we're going to talk about today, guys, is just heartbreak. Mm-hmm. Man, especially in this time of month, sometimes it can bring back some old baggage or some old pain, or maybe it's something that's fresh that's happening right now. Saleena is someone who's been through the fire, but I can truly say she does not smell like smoke. Coming out of it, she is alive. She's on top of it. And so I wanted her to come on just to share her story and to really talk about, just when something unexpectedly happens and it just becomes, whoa, what the heck, and how to manage and get through that. And so Saleena, obviously we kind of talked before this, but can you tell us a little bit about your story and just what happened?
Yeah. So I came to Charis back in 2013, was focused on the Lord, just super excited about everything. And I started to see some of my friends get into relationships, and I had never dated anyone before. And so it really wasn't a huge thing until I was like, you know what? I would like to be in a relationship. So 2000 and I guess you would say it was like the end of 2014, I started dating this gentleman. And we dated for a few months. And the next thing you know, we're engaged. And the next thing you know, we're not. So it was definitely kind of a whirlwind. He was like my first boyfriend ever and everything. And so there was a lot that the Lord showed me and taught me through that time frame. And yeah, whatever we want, we can break it down. So
okay, no, that's awesome. Obviously, we're leaving names unnamed, just for honor and respect. But with that, Saleena, like all that happening, especially was it unexpected for you, or did you feel like that was something that you knew, or maybe something that you knew but you were just kind of denying?
The breakup?
Yeah.
It was unexpected, but before then, I felt that there was a pull away. Like I felt like he was pulling away and we were just slowly just not coming together. Like we were slowly going our own way. I remember my mom like weeks before we broke up, like my mom was like, y'all doing okay? I'm like, Mom, we're fine. We're good. We're good. But she could sense that there was something that was off. And I was trying to keep everything private. And just as a disclaimer, I know we're not mentioning any names. This guy is phenomenal. Nothing against him whatsoever. It just wasn't what the Lord had in store for both of us. But I just remember my mom was like, are you sure you guys are okay? I'm like, no, Mom, we're good. But deep inside, I'm like, there's a shift that's happening. Like we're pulling away from each other. And it was during that time frame that he had shared with me. He's like, I feel like we really need to pray to see if this is really the Lord. And just to share with you, like we were dating for a few months and then we were engaged. Like it was a really quick time frame. I wouldn't even say like we were friends. I would say we were acquaintances before.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I really truly knew him. And so things moved very, very quickly. And I remember when he mentioned that he feels like we need to pray because he feels like this may not be the Lord. I was like, what do you mean? Like we were 2 months away from getting married. We had, done the invites and all of this. Hadn't sent them out, but were written. We were approved to get married at Charis. And so things were moving. So when I heard that, it was really like a stop. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, what's happening?
Right.
And so he took time. I took time. And when your mind and heart is so invested already, I can say I feel like for myself, I feel like it's really hard to hear from the Lord when you're in the situation and it's so real. You're in it. And so anyways, I prayed and I felt like the Lord was saying, hey, maybe we're in a rough spot, but I believe this is the Lord and you're the one. And I remember we actually met at a coffee shop, and that was the day that we were supposed to meet and kind of share what we felt like the Lord was saying. Yeah. And I shared that I felt like the Lord was saying, like, we're good to keep going. Like, it's fine. It's just we need to keep him the center, and, there's some things we need to shift. But he felt like, nope, this is not it. And I remember him saying, he's like, I feel like we're better separate than we are together. And when he said that, I was like, what? But now looking back, I can honestly say I couldn't agree with him more. Like, wow. Seriously. And when you're, like I said, when you're in the fire, when you're in the moment, unless you truly disengage everything, your emotions are so involved, it's hard for you to really hear. Yeah. And so in hindsight, going all the way back in 2015, I 100% agree. Wow. And I still feel like, if we had to got married, like God would have totally worked with us and it would have been blessed. It might have been a little bumpy, but it would have been blessed. Right. And I truly would say as well, I felt like I had peace to enter into a relationship with him. So there's still things that maybe I don't fully understand, but I understand now that sometimes you don't understand everything in the moment. And that's okay. It's like you really have to move on and keep your eyes on what God has said. And I remember during that process, though, the Lord was like wooing me. He was like, Saleena, talk to me about this. Come spend time with me. And I'm like, no. I'll talk to him about this. I'll talk to him about this. I'll spend time with him. Yeah. And I know without a shadow of doubt, if I would have really listened, we wouldn't have gotten as far as we did in our relationship. Yeah.
Wow. Man, so, Saleena, that's powerful. And obviously, sometimes it's easier to look at those lessons and like learn from them when you're from a distance. But how did you get to that place where you can switch and be, okay, I got to move forward? Because obviously, like, did this cross your mind? Like, man, you heard the Lord saying that it's okay, but then the other person is not recipient to that and just felt like it's something else. Like, tell me, what was the thought process, or how did you process getting through that when maybe it's like, hope deferred makes the heart sick, right? There was a hope or maybe an expectation that this was going to go forward and it didn't.
I think honestly the biggest part was in that whole process, I really like lost my first love. Like I had put this guy on a pedestal that was no human was ever supposed to sit there.
Yeah.
And really that hope was I had to go back to my first love and to realize like, man, God, I'm sorry that I became so dependent upon this person that I lost God. And I remember after that breakup, I literally would work Monday through Friday, come home, shut my door, and just seek his face. Like I had to rediscover, and that was that hope for me, was like really remembering who God is and that he's not your man. Like, and that, I mean, I think before this relationship, I knew that, but slowly my heart and my mind was not portraying the actions of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
No, that's powerful. What would you say to someone right now who maybe have just gone through a breakup or something like that, just after what you've gone through?
Yeah, I would say, like, don't worry. I know it sounds super cliche, but like, really, like, don't worry. Like, God knows the plan he has for you. And even when you don't understand it, and I don't understand why this didn't work, it's like sometimes you don't understand, but you have a choice to shut the door and to move on. And that choice is only in your hands. And I think for myself, I had left a door open, not necessarily from speaking with this gentleman, but the door open of the guilt and the shame that I felt that I shouldn't even had gone that far in the first place. And you really have to realize, like, man, God's got your back. Like, don't worry. And to realize, like, he knows who God's best is for you, and he has that for you. And I can honestly say now, like, you know, I'm in that best, you know, and it's super exciting.
Come on.
So, yeah.
No, that's great, Saleena. And I just encourage you guys to, like, even in that, what just Saleena just said, and I know sometimes, like, we always hear the question, what would you tell your younger self, you know? And it's just, it comes back to what your younger self would they have even listened, you know, with some of the things that you've said, but truly take that in of what Saleena just shared with us. In this, Saleena, like, you've trained in the phone center, and I've talked to other people who've been through heartbreaks, and they talked about going through the P2 process, you know, just because you're the master trainer, you know, you train me on this, you know, can you walk us through that? Like, what is that, you know?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's so simple. I think when we say the P2 process, it sounds like this, ooh, but it's literally sitting with the Father and hearing, what are the lies that you're believing? And God, what is the truth that you want me to own? And just choosing that. And I remember, man, through that breakup, I was P2ing all day, every day of just, yeah, these were the lies I was believing. This was the truth that the Lord wanted me to choose and for me to hold on to. But it's really that simple. And just remembering, like, when the enemy comes and tries to knock on your door, like, you have a choice to believe the lies or to believe the truth. And God says, hey, I've set before you life or death, blessing and cursing. He told us the answer was to choose life. And so there's a lot more that we have in our hands than I think that we believe. That sometimes I think, like, oh, when you're in a breakup, you know, it's going to take this long and you just have to kind of go through the process. And I truly don't believe that that's God's best. I think that God's best is, yes, he wants to walk with you, but he's given us and empowered us to make a choice.
Yeah.
To choose, like, you know what? I choose to believe that even though I don't quite understand that, I choose to believe that God has the best for me, you know?
Yeah. No, that's so powerful, Saleena. Like, it's coming back to realizing who God is and seeing his nature, that, you know, because I'm not in the believement of, you know, God has this particular person. My wife, Elle, and I, we talk about this all the time. Like, man, you know, we're thankful that we get to be between her and I, but we both know that, man, like, it could have been anyone. There's not that one person we don't believe, because if it was, then man, like, you're lost in eternity if that person decides not to marry you, or vice versa. But man, when you truly come back to his nature and there's something like going through a breakup, having the perspective of just even what that person had shared with you, Saleena, that man, we might be better separate. And there's reality to that. You may not see it or envision it because you have so pictured it and graphed it with this person. But when you come back to the simplicity of what are the lies and what are the truth that God has set for me, and the ultimate truth that you can come back to is that God is good, and that God works all things together for good. And so even if you have gone through something, or it's traumatic or it's hurtful, I know right now, even probably hearing our voices, you're probably like, no, my story is different. No, it's not the same. I want to encourage you, that's a lie.
Yeah.
And the truth is that God is good and he loves you. And that means that if it's not this person, that means that there's someone better.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So can I ask you this, Saleena, because I've sat with different people and we've brought this out and hashed this out. You know, was there a moment where you decide, like, where was that shift to say, I'm going to move on versus, okay, I know I heard the Lord, I'm going to hold on by faith, you know, and just, Brother Scott, you know, I love his story, man. It's so powerful. And he talks about there was a moment between Israel and him where he put his relationship, quote unquote, on the altar. And they had separated for a little bit. But the Lord gave him a word saying, you know, why did Abraham put Isaac on the altar? It's because he knew that he would bring him back from the dead. So he had that word, and he, you know, okay, I'm going to hold on. You know, I'm not going to pursue, not going to be weird, not going to be blowing up her phone, but I'm going to hold on in my heart. For you, Saleena, obviously you're in this new season. It's phenomenal. So happy for you. Shout out to Martin out there, man. You're the man. Love you, sir.
Me too. I love you.
But even with that, like, God has given you better promises and better things. But where was it in your heart that you were able to make that shift to say, all right, no, I truly need to move on?
That's such a great question. What I have found is, like, God just asks for our faith in a certain direction, whatever that looks like. And you truly have to be honest with yourself of what action would actually demonstrate that faith. Even though I felt like, well, I didn't, it's not like I got red flags with this gentleman. It wasn't like this, no, he's not a good guy. He's a great guy. But I realized that faith for me of moving forward was putting him on the altar and saying, God, like, I don't quite understand why all of this happened, but I trust you enough to let him go. And that wasn't like, it wasn't just like a choice and then, okay, he's gone out of my mind. Like, it was an active thing of constantly and shutting things down. Like, this is something I'm super duper passionate about, like, because I, you know, speak with a lot of people, a lot of young ladies, and sometimes there's that tendency is that we want to hold on. Oh, we just want to be friends. Unless you have a word from the Lord, like, if you truly trust the Lord, you need to put the whole thing on the altar and cut everything. And I realized, like, I was still having the door open to certain areas. And by that, I mean, like, maybe it was, I think, some emails I had sent to him, or maybe it was, I'm only 30, but we were doing a lot of emails. That sounds weird, but I'm here for it. Anyways, some emails I was sending to him and, like, other things that I was keeping the door open. And I just remember it was actually someone in my life. They're like, why do you still have these emails? And I'm like, it wasn't like I was actively emailing this person, but I just had them still. Yeah. And the Lord used this person to say, shut it all down. And that, honestly, that was the turning point of moving on, was trusting God enough that he does have the best for you, you know? And I always think about the illustration when your hands are closed and you have something in it, God can't put something new in it, you know? And so for me, that shift was having people in my life that was like, that's still a door. You need to shut that.
Yeah.
And there's people that probably have been speaking to you. And I encourage you, with the right people, listen to them, you know?
Wow. That's powerful, Saleena. And I love that just analogy of the door. Like, man, that's a question we can ask ourselves, guys, especially if you've gone through a heartache or a heartbreak. Are there doors that are left open that are of your will and not of the Father's? And again, just coming back to it, I just want to beat the drum of God is good. He is faithful. He loves you. He's for you. And you can trust him when he's saying to let go. You can trust him when he's saying to hold on. But just be open to what he's saying and not what we're saying in ourselves. And so, and that's powerful. Something that you had good friends around you, surrounded by you. I remember a while back you had talked about how just, and even in that, like just pulling away from friends in that relationship, and now just getting back to being open and having those people that were able to speak into your life. That's powerful. I want to give you this opportunity now, Saleena, to speak into our listeners' lives by giving us a 3-minute challenge, right? So guys, for those who are new listening, I always end with a 3-minute challenge. And really the heart behind that is because, again, this podcast is dedicated to growth. First step in growth is knowledge. But the second, which is the most vital step, is application of that knowledge. So you can't grow without applying. You can't grow without putting your hands to it. And so before listening to the next podcast, before, hitting that treadmill on 5.5, or 3.2 like me. All right, we do it a little slow. Man, take these next 3 minutes and apply this challenge. So, Saleena, what 3-minute challenge would you give us
I would
today?
say, going back to the doors, is you asking the Lord, what are the doors that you have left open? And to realize that when a door is left open, there's access from both sides. And oftentimes, the Lord is saying, hey, like, I want you to move on, but there's a practicality thing that he wants you to do so that way you can move on. And some of those doors could be, it could be maybe you haven't forgiven yourself. That was a huge part for myself. I left the door of unforgiveness, not towards him, but towards myself. Maybe that door is you're still texting every now and then. Maybe that door is you not really truly believing that God will not withhold good from you if you're walking with him. Excuse me. And so I just would encourage you just to sit with the Lord and say, God, what are doors that I've left open that you want me to close? And just to realize he will speak that to you. And like I said, it doesn't have to be this long, drawn out process for you to overcome the grief of a breakup, but he wants the best for you. And to realize, like, when you yield and say, God, I can't do this by myself, I need your help, he will come in, he will show you that door will be closed. But not only will the door be closed, but you'll see a new door open, and that's the best part. So
Amen. That is so cool, Saleena. Thank you for sharing that with us, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in always. Again, if you're here in the Woodland Park area, Triple Dog area, come check us out at Freedom Church, Saturday night, 6 o'clock. It's going to be awesome. Have a lot of great speakers on relationship. Saleena, thank you for your time with us.
thank you, Jose.
Yeah, you're
Appreciate
awesome.
it.
All right, talk to you guys later. Peace.
Bye.